Hey everybody, welcome back. We're up to day 13 of our Mirthwood guide and walkthrough. Last I left you, we were in the wolf's den. Now I'm going to go around where you see me here on the map, a little bit to the northeast of our camp, right on the fence. You'll see Seriel. Seriel has some words for us, talking about what happened to his daughter. And this is a continuation of Lara's quest. So we're going to meet the stranger here, and we're going to go to defeat the bandits. I'm going to follow Seriel along this path here to get to where we need to go to face off enemies in mortal combat. Along the way, you're going to find a chest. Go ahead and pick up the refined copper sword recipe from here. If you haven't made an iron sword, it's a nice one to make. A good use for copper anyway. And then when you arrive at where the bandits are, I was faced with quite a ruckus. There's more bandits than this, and you'll see as I gravitate towards the right hand side, there are a ton of them. I ended up, I did beat them all. I didn't die. Just went around and kited them as best as I could and took care of them. Once you take care of the last bandit, the quest completes and you're done, and you're able to pick up the Boarbreaker's sword diagram, which is a pretty cool sword that requires boar tusks, which is different from what you normally see. Once you've collected everything here in this camp, you're going to go north, and you're going to find on the floor both a fabled feather and the crown that he asked you to grab. So wait a little bit, come back towards Seriel, and he's going to speak to you about the crown and what happened to his daughter. From here, we're still going to progress through the main quest, exhaust the dialogue, get the next piece of the quest. It'll tell you, I think it's called Unmasked. And after that, we're going to head south, and then since we're here already in this part of the plains, we're going to do two things. We're going to visit a farm where we can grab another quest, and then we completed Unmasked, my bad, and then the next part is the next part of the quest. So anyway, we're going to go south a little bit from where we met Seriel, and we're going to run into a farm, a dilapidated farm. And the farmer is going to tell you, hey, I've lost my daughter. Can you please find her? Turns out she wasn't lost. She was taken by bandits, so you have to go rescue her. But we're not going to do that today. We're just going to go ahead and pick up the quest. We're going to come back and do this quest a little bit later on, probably in the next playthrough. And the reason for that is I actually want to go pick up the war boat today and craft it before I come back. Here you go downstairs and you read a little bit of lore and you realize your farm is failing, and it's just sad news all around. But then when you talk to them, here they are. They're going to give you the quest. Here he is. He's the one that gives you the quest for his daughter. In that windmill that you see behind him is actually some stuff you can grab. So don't forget to go in there and check. So once you get the quest from him and you go and you check out the mill to get the fabled feather and whatever else is in there, we're going to wrap around towards the coast. I'm not going to do the bandit quest right now. If you want to go ahead, I'm not going to. I'm going to come back in the next episode and do that with the warbow bot. So the reason I'm doing this now is I'm close by. There isn't much to do yet. But I'm able to pick up another fabled feather, so I'm getting up there in numbers, and that just means I'm going to have a ton of inventory space because my skill slots are maxed out, remember? So here, I'm not going to go to the bandits. I'm going to go to the east towards the coast, and it's actually a really short trip. You're going to run into a bunch of wolves in this area. Careful. You're also going to see a lot of feathers in this area, so I'll go ahead and grab those. There are also some standing stones to do. We're not going to do today. But this is the Stormreach Coast. And the Stormreach Coast has that lobster you need for the mountain shrine. There's a wolf. So if you just kite him, you'll be done. You're going to go up this hill, and up this hill is our campsite. So it's really, really close by. And so because we had no reason to come here, again, really the main purpose of coming to the coast is to advance the quest lines and to find silver, because silver is found here too without having to venture into the Bleakwood. I didn't take you here before. So the biggest thing is to unlock the fast travel spot, which you already know about. And we can do that here. Once we unlock the fast travel spot, we can go ahead and go back and do Well, I'm going to grab the feather that I missed before I did that. But then from the fast travel spot, we can go back to the farm. And the reason I'm going back to the farm is you might have noticed when I attempted to pick up the materials from the box here, I thought I was full. So I might as well go back, deposit everything I've picked up in my travels. And then I have enough for the next upgrade from Fernfoot. So I'd rather do that. Seems like a better idea to do that now than to wait for later. So that's what I do. I go ahead and I, store everything. I get crafting when I can craft, which at this point I think is like nothing. And there's the Boarbreaker, if you want to give it a go, and the refined copper sword. So the refined copper sword does such more damage, not that much more, which is why we have the copper sword. We're pretty much good to go. And then the Boarbreaker does do a decent chunk of damage. There it is, and requires steel and boar tusks. So up to you if you're melee what you want to craft for the road ahead. Alright, great. So now our goal is to grab the diagram for the warbow to upgrade our inventory slots with Fernfoot and to get ready for the next phase of the game, which is to start opening up the portals and everything else. There is one final quest we need to do, which is the Elf in the Sea. And if you remember correctly, there's like 3 quests out there that we can actually do. There's a missing man, there's another one, old man in the sea. So there's other things to do in this part of the world where we're at, which we could potentially get to first prior to starting opening up the portals, because we need to collect a whole bunch of materials for those portals anyway. Once again, up to you, whatever you want to expand. I sincerely think that food should be the last thing. I think materials are more important than anything else to expand. But again, you do you, whatever it is you want. Once you get your inventory expanded with the number of feathers, we're going to warp back to the plains from the old forest campsite. Immediately after warping to the plains, we are going to head north of the oasis in the desert, because there's a standing stone there that we might as well grab because we're already here. And so I'll show you to you when we get there. Sell whatever you don't need. That's really my biggest advice. Just sell everything. And I keep telling you that during this walkthrough, but it's true. Your next pain point is going to be getting the silver toolkit to upgrade your steel axe to a silver axe. But we don't need it just yet, so don't worry too much about it. Just try not to spend all your money. So here we go. We're going back to the old forest. On the way to the old forest, you can run into bandits, and I've told you before, killing them is nice. Or run away if you don't want to, that's fine. But killing them is nice because you get those potent health elixirs that are so good in the late game, because your enemies are doing more damage than the lesser enemies in the game. So for the next part, we're going to do a couple of things really quickly, so just pay attention, I guess. We're going to go get the first standing stone in the plains after we warp there, and then immediately we're going to go ahead and start the contract for the Berserker Boar, and we're going to kill it. I'm going to collect the bounty, just start collecting gold. So everything's right there, really close to each other, so just make sure you're paying attention. So you warp to the plains, you go southeast towards the Oasis Lake, which we've already unlocked. The north part of the lake is where the standing stone is, and directly next to that is where the Berserker Boar is. Now be careful, because sometimes the Berserker Boar can have a regular boar standing next to it and a wanderer next to it. But you can apply the same trick that you saw me do in the Wolves Den, where I use the enemy's attacks against them, because the boars are kind of reckless. They'll be able to tend to attack their friends while you're fighting them, so that's kind of cool. There's also another feather to be found close by, which I'll get after I fight the Berserker Boar and get the bounty. It's right there, to the right hand side of it. So just keep that in mind. There you go. I'm kiting the enemies and making sure that the enemies are hurting themselves. I can always just dodge away from them if they come too close. So once I've taken care of the Berserker Boar, I pick up his loot, I pick up his bounty, which is great. I need the money, and then I take care of the Wanderer just because I'm already here. The game is very smooth if you know kind of like to go back home. The whole point of the game allows us to go back home, leave things there, go out into the world after, so your home is your base. Ultimately, the campsites are useful, but they're not your home base. So you need to be going back home. If you're stuck in a part of a quest, go back home. There might be a letter waiting for you to give you the next part. Go back home, start making metal, go back home, get wood, get stone, etc. Don't be afraid to go back home. That's why the fast travel points are there. Once I go, right now I'm going back into town to the crossroads after picking up some feathers, and the reason I'm going back is I'm going to get that war bow. Finally, I could have gotten it a little bit earlier, but I didn't feel the need to. Now I do. I definitely do. The reason is I'm fighting a lot of hags in the next couple of videos, and hags are super tanky. I'm fighting some werewolves, and werewolves are super tanky. And I'm going to be fighting the final boss, so I want to get ready for that. All these things. So yeah, the warbow is the last item I'm going to buy. I'm going to sell what I don't need, and then the warbow requires 100 hardwood and I believe it's 10 steel to craft, which I have because every time I go back home, I chop hardwood, I leave steel cooking, so that I'm ready to go for the next step. And you see an exclamation point right there. So once you complete the quest of Seriel, that you get in the crown and all this other stuff, I did all these other things because I'm able to, there we go, crafted my war bow. So now I'm the strongest I'm going to be with the bow until I level up the rest of my skill cards. I got pretty good defense with my elven helm, so I'm good to go. That letter starts the next part of the main story, which is the Elf in the Sea. And that takes me to the northeastern part of the map, and we haven't been there yet. But if you remember, we unlocked the coastal fast travel point, and that's why we unlocked the coastal fast travel point, because from the coast, we're going to go up into the area where this is leading me to continue on the main story. And again, we have not opened up a portal yet. So in the next episode, we're going to go ahead and go to the eastern part of the map, explore the Elf in the Sea. We're going to go and do a couple of quests that can be found on that area of the map, like 6 of them. Make sure we get ourselves really, really, really ready to go for the next part of opening up the portals, because what we want to do with the portals is basically just go open it up and do what we need to do. We don't want to be wasting our time doing these kinds of things. So I hope you've been enjoying this walkthrough. This was a quick one, but we did a lot in the short period of time, so catch you on the flip side.